Hello, this is Chris Terrell with Everydayvba. This video we're going to be looking at the Worksheet Basics 101. This is basically a intro video on how to call those sheets, what those sheets are, what they're named, etc. And we're going to dig right in. So first thing we're going to do is open up our Visual Basic Editor. You can do that by hitting Alt F11. Hit Alt F11 and it's going to open up your Visual Basic Editor. Now what we want to do, first thing we want to do is we want to open up the module. That's going to open up our code. That's where we're going to put the code. You'll notice that I have one workbook open. It's called Book 1. I've got one sheet. If I click on that, it's going to show me my properties. Let's go ahead and go down here. We're going to go sub. We're going to call this sub WSBasics. Now I almost went basics, and if I do that, it's going to give me an error because you can't have spaces. So that will save you some time when you run into that error at some point. Drive you nuts, especially when you're recording a video. Anyway, back to worksheets. Couple things we're going to do. First thing you can do is you can go by the code name. Now the code name is right here. It is before these parentheses. The name of that is within the parentheses. Now you'll notice you've got your name. This is your code name right here. You've got your name, which is the name of the workbook, worksheet is right here. Those are two different things. Now I'm going to just use the code name, which is sheet 1, and I'm going to type in name. Now just for fun, we're going to add this to a message box, MsgBox, and that is my one line of code. I'm hitting F8 and it's going to pull that up. It's going to give me the name. That is sheet 1. Now, what if we went in and changed the name? Now, there's a couple ways you can change your name. You can actually come out here, double click on that, change it there. You can also come in here, and I'm going to change this to new name. I'm going to hit enter. Doesn't like that. Doesn't like me changing that. I don't know why. Anyway. That's something that you learn every day. Now you'll notice that when I change that, one, the parentheses changed, and then also it changed here, which apparently you can't change. It's good to know. Now if I hit F8 and go through my message box, notice the code name has not changed because I've not changed it, but the name of it has. So that's one way to do that. Now the other thing that you can do is you can actually change your code name. So I typically do this on can't do that because I'm running code. That was the problem. I'm just making a test here. Oh yeah, so the reason that didn't work, yeah, I don't change it my names in the properties window that much because I had that code running. I couldn't change it, so I'm going to change it back to new name. You learn something every day, which is awesome. And we've got that named. It's called new name. We're going to change the code. We're going to change this to code sheet. Now you'll notice that now I've got code sheet and I've got new name. Now when I run this code, it's going to give me an error because sheet 1 no longer exists because I changed it to code name, and it's going to say that that object is required. It doesn't know what sheet name is, and we would have to rename it to code name or code sheet. And then it works just fine. There we go. We're good to go. So that's one way to do that. I highly recommend actually using the code name. The reason is because if your user goes and changes that name on the worksheet, it doesn't matter because you're not calling that in the code. Next way that you can do this is you can actually go sheets, and index is 1. Index is basically the number. So if we had a bunch of sheets, now we only have one. You got a bunch of sheets from left to right. That's what the index is. So the first book, the very left worksheet, is going to be sheet 1. The second one is sheet 2, all the way to the end. And you'll notice that if I go, I'm going to add MsgBox here. It gives me a new name. It gives me the same thing. And I'm just going to show you an error here real quick. We're going to change this to 2. I'm just going to change this to 2, mainly because I just want to show you that there's an error. Again, subscript out of range. It's a different error, basically meaning, hey, you only have one sheet. Now, this is very useful if you're looping through sheets. You can actually put these in a loop and run them through. It's pretty common. The other way to do this, and if you record macros, you're going to run this a lot, which is sheets, and then you just type in the name. And then I'm going to just type in index, just so that you can see that there are different ways that you can do this. We're going to go MSG, and I'm only using MsgBox just mostly for illustration, so you can see. Now this is going to be MsgBox. It's going to be sheets, and I'm putting in the name. And anytime you put the name, this actually isn't going to work because I spelled it wrong. It needs to be new name. Anytime you put that in, anytime you put in the name, it needs to be in quotes. If it's a numeric, it doesn't have to be in quotes. So for example, if I put in quotes around the 1, it would give me an error because Excel is looking for an index or the name. If we hit F8, now just really quick, what do you expect this to do? What do you expect this to return? It's returning the index or the number from left to right. If I hit F8, it's going to show 1. Now if I put in another sheet and I move that sheet over, now you'll notice that the index is now changed. These are all the same. I don't have any issue. Now you'll notice that my sheet 1 became sheet 2 because it's the first sheet to the left, and I hit OK again, and it shows me new name as an index of 2. That's the basics of how your worksheets work as far as calling them, using them, pulling them up. Now I use the MsgBox just for illustration purposes. Typically you're going to be using .activate or .select. That's the easy way to do that. Okay, so I almost completely forgot one last piece, which is ActiveSheet. I typically will spell everything in all lowercase because when I hit, when I go down, if it changes the case statements or it becomes capitals, then I know that I've selected something correctly. But ActiveSheet is exactly what it says. Is whatever the active sheet is. Now if I hit F8, it's going to walk through all these. I'm just going to drag this down because I don't want to go through this. ActiveSheet.Name. It's going to give me whatever that name is. Now I could also do ActiveSheet.Index. Notice when I change, it's going to change as well. Now ActiveSheet is really useful if you know that you're going to be doing that code on that sheet, or you know that you're always going to be on that sheet. So that is useful as well. I can't believe I almost forgot it, but I snuck it in anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed.